Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a deep honor and a great privilege to be here at this gathering again with RDPetro 2018. This is an amazing conference, an amazing summit, and we are gathered here today to celebrate innovation, to celebrate research and development, to actually bring ideas and investments together. Today is about actually execution and implementation. We talk a lot about the future, but today is a lot about optimization, brilliance in terms of performance, the quality that is being produced. We are living in amazing, amazing times. It's unprecedented what's going on around us. And even though the oil price is not at its amazing heady best, there's just so much opportunity around us because of technology, because of information, because of artificial intelligence and so on, a lot of which we will discuss in great depth today. We're extremely fortunate to have some of the most amazing minds in the industry. They're here from all over the world, and they've come specifically and specially to honor you and share their ideas and thoughts with you. So to get us moving and get us into this wonderful day and 2 days ahead of us, please put your hands together, and we'd like to welcome Mr. Qasim Al-Qayoumi, the chairman of RDPetro and ADNOC Technical Center Unit Manager. Please, Mr. Qasim.
Assalamu alaikum. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me a great honor to welcome you to RDPetro 2018, the International Research and Development Petroleum Conference and Exhibition. Under the name of ADNOC, we started this forum 6 years ago as a small gathering of industry innovators to discuss R&D topics. Year after year, the interest and engagement of professionals from academia to industry continue to grow. In the last edition in 2015, Mr. Yasser Al-Mazrou'i, as a chairman, made the event an international one and laid the foundation of it to become the largest international oil and gas conference and exhibition entirely and solely focused on R&D. Today, with RDPetro, we have broadened our reach and objectives further while remaining focused on new ideas and solutions to specific challenges we have set. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride that I chair this year's edition. I'm delighted to welcome RDPetro, not just establish an emerging oil and gas company, but also innovators from other industries, as well as technology leaders, startups, and universities. Over the next 2 days, we will hear from and engage with more than 100 international speakers, chief technologists from pioneering companies, and specialists from both downstream and upstream sectors. Equally, we will see a robust program of technical presentations coordinated by the leading oil and gas technical societies.
We have our very special guest, Mr. Abdulaziz Abdullah Al-Hajri. He is the downstream director, ADNOC, to make some opening remarks and get the show on the road for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be here with you today and to see so many familiar faces and not so familiar faces here. I was just chatting with one colleague who has transferred from onshore to offshore, and he was telling me, you know, how the sea is so calming and help you think. So I came to my memory, and I do not know whether you have seen it or not, an old TV show, and there is several versions of it. Sailors at sea, they called on the radio, they were having trouble, so they were calling Mayday, 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 we are sinking. And then the reply came to them on the radio, tell us what you are thinking about. So thinking and thinking could be confused, but I think we need to think if we do not want to sink. This unique forum will address specific global and gas technology challenges and focus on innovative R&D solutions that will enable us to maximize the value of our oil and gas resources. It aims to foster closer collaboration between leading oil and gas companies and the brightest global innovators. Importantly, this platform will help incubate the best and most promising ideas and accelerate their development, commercialization, and deployment. Ladies and gentlemen, RDPetro takes place against the backdrop of global economic growth and rising demand for energy, refined products, and petrochemical products. This is creating new opportunities across the hydrocarbon value chain. Furthermore, the speed of technology development has never been faster, and its potential impact as powerful.
Moving on, we have our keynote speaker for today. His name is Dan Cobley. He is from Google, ex-Google. He's a fintech investor. And he joined Google when Google was a mere little puppy. And his marketing department was all about sort of T-shirts and little things like that. And he helped to grow that. Please put your hands together for Dan Cobley.
Today, I'm going to talk to you about innovation, about why it's so critical, and how we can learn some of the lessons from companies like Google and the amazing fast growth startups that I'm working with today. And when I say innovation, what I'm talking about is the creation of more effective products, processes, and technologies that create value for our customers and therefore for our organizations. And the reason that's so important is because we want to drive business success. And success for our businesses, or the businesses that we're dreaming about building in the future, comes from meeting the needs of our customers better than your competition. And the needs of our customers are changing faster today than at any time in previous human history. And your competition is moving and changing faster today than at any time in previous industrial history. And as a result, we have to innovate to move to keep up.
We start with our CTO Summit. As we have 6 amazing people here, from heads of strategy to heads of product development for global corporations. Incredible bunch of people, and we'll certainly enjoy engaging with them. This segment is about bringing about disruption, bringing about transformation through digitalization, artificial intelligence, and technology. So without further ado, I'd like to invite you to welcome Øystein Haaland. He is from IBM. He's their Chief Technology Officer, and he's the innovators innovator, and he's going to give us a few remarks and then to get the show on the road.
So with the advent of a number of game-changing digital technologies comes a number of opportunities, unfortunately not without challenges. AI and analytics are becoming part of the standard package for most vendors in this space. One is almost taking this as a granted. Blockchain is also being prototyped in many use cases that are spanning both the IT and the OT domain, thus maintaining efficiency, audit trail capability, and high safety integrity levels. Why cognitive technology adoption is essential. There's a lot of companies talking about cognition, and for us, we believe, there's a lot of insight to be surfaced from unstructured information, hidden in complex documents with multi-column text, tables, images. Even the images may have text as well. So in order to take out all that information, you could potentially see a big reduction in time it takes to find the information, but also to increase your workforce productivity level. And the business outcome should be 5 to 15% increase in productivity and efficiency gain, and also cost reductions in the same area.
Professor Rose, you're the chief strategist at ADNOC. We've heard about cognition, we've heard about the business of things, and some wonderful questions that Oystein has put on the table there. How are you adopting that strategy within ADNOC, and how is that rolling out?
I think one of the first things to realize is that the oil and gas industry historically has always been an industry with large amounts of information. We're a big data industry. We find the oil. In order to do that, we collect lots of data, geophysical data. So we have huge quantities of data in our industry.
Right.
And the key for us in ADNOC to actually go with the digitalization and the advanced data analysis is to extract value out of this data, right, the data we have. And these new technologies allow us a new window on the things we do. Now, for me, there are two things it actually does for us. The easy one is the quick wins. We do the things we do at the moment faster and cheaper. And there are tools that allow us to do this, analyzing the data. But the more important thing is it actually prompts us to do things differently. It's a culture change. How do we do things differently? Because we see patterns in the data that actually give us a lead of changing the ways we do our operations, of changing the ways we actually think about the business. And that's where the big value element comes into play. And for all of those things, we've set up teams in ADNOC who will actually start to look at it in the upstream as well as in corporate.
Manas, culture change is one of the most difficult things to do. You are MD at Accenture. How do you future-proof oil companies, oil and gas companies? You have culture change, you have technology change and development. How do you bring that together? How do you bridge it?
Yeah, Tariq, if you think about the three fundamental remits of any oil and gas company, it is reducing cost of supply. It's about reducing the latency in the system. You can think about it from as time from FID to first oil. And lastly, maximizing netback or revenues for the company. Now, if a company is to exist in the medium to longer term, they have to deliver on these three things. And use of digitalization, if it is used, if it is leveraged in achieving these three things in the short to medium term, but then also help in the longer term to transition from oil to gas to electricity and then to energy as a service, then it becomes a powerful metaphor to engage your employees and energize them about the change.
Thank you. The oil industry, tends to work in a sort of boom and bust cycle regularly. And in the good days, 5-10 years ago, when the oil price was well above 100, was there a sense of complacency sort of clicking in, and adoption of digital wasn't that fast? But over the last 2 or 3 years, it's accelerated. What are your thoughts? What are your observations as a head of product at Baker Hughes? You must be now accelerating your engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the dynamic that you've seen over the past few years was that when you had very high oil prices, And I think some of the progress in technology that Dan had described earlier hadn't quite matured to this extent. I think there was a sense of complacency. But after the recent drop in oil prices, and even though there's a little bit of a recovery now, the key thing now is how do you get operational efficiency up, right? And I think there's tremendous excitement in terms of the technology that's now available, the possibility. But very, very often we get into this mode about what could happen in 5 years or 10 years. The question, though, is what do you do now? And that's where we see that as something that I think companies as our customers and we as Baker Hughes GE need to invest a great deal in.
Philippe, getting you into the equation, you are the little guy here in all these big boys.
Yep.
And you run a 200-people company, you have a VP Solutions for that, for Spark Cognition. What is, in your view, when you put your lens on with your experience, the number one critical issue that you feel the risk and the challenge in front of you?
So we are moving into a digital age. And for those of us who don't know who we are Spark Cognition, a small startup. 4 years ago, we were in the innovation booth in the back, not at this conference, but we have been very lucky to come up with a technology that is disrupting a very hot market with artificial intelligence. Everybody on this panel is actually a partner or a client, and many more of you in the rooms are partner or client, and we thank you for that. As we look at the data and the information you have to work with, the first thing you have to do is to secure it. I mean, unless you apply a very strong cybersecurity approach to your artificial intelligence strategy, you are going to be at risk of failing very quickly if you don't protect what is becoming the most valuable asset in your company, which is the data.
That gives us a nice little segue into Vincent. You've got all this data, you've got change, you've got products, you've got large oil companies working on that. How do you, as Total, a major player in the world, how do you actually bring it into the organization? How do you digitize an environment? It's easy to say and throw these little platitudes like, oh, we need to digitize. But what does it actually mean?
Yeah. I'm going to start by a quote that I use with my researcher, and my quote is, research is about going down dark alleys to see if they lead anywhere. So I'm going to take you down a dark alley to answer your question. It's a convoluted way of doing things. I'll apologize in advance. Digital comes from the word digit, means finger in Latin. Mm-hmm. And then it was transformed into digits, so numbers from 1 to 10, to count, maybe because you counted on your fingers. And then it went into binary because computers are based on 2 digits, 0 and 1, 1 and 2, how you want it. So what are digits? Going back to close the loop, and I'll tell you then how we see digitization and digital in Total. Digital is about tools. We were given opposing fingers, and we evolved because we made tools. And digital revolution is more of a digital transition. It's about designing tools. So our approach is that digital is just that. They're tools, they're additional tools to our quiver. They're more powerful tools because they're made of 3 components that are coming to confluence right now. Access to data, and I agree with my colleagues, there's a lot of data. We have one of the largest computers in the world. Geoscience data and processing geoscience data takes 95% of the computer time. Fast access to computers and more powerful computers and more powerful algorithms.
I'm Saeed Al-Zahrain, the CEO and founder of Burak Aerospace. We have a startup based on Purdue University, and we are specialized in UAV or drones. And we had a hard time trying to convince oil and gas companies here in the Middle East to work with us. We use artificial intelligence, we use machine learning, machine vision for our UAVs to navigate around the oil facilities, and we try to target Saudi Aramco, but I think the regulations are like just killing us. Could you please tell us more about the future of using drones in oil and gas industry?
So I can relate to what you're saying. I invite you to come talk to me on the stand and talk to Pierre-Olivier Lys, who's somewhere here today, about the difficulties he encountered to sell using drones in Total for the seismic work. You're talking about management of change. You're talking about not invented in my backyard. You're talking about risk-adverse populations. And the only thing I can tell you, just don't let go of the calves that you're biting. I mean, that's what it will take to push a good idea and to generalize it.
Our region is not very good at managing failure, or even the word failure. It doesn't actually, it's not a learning experience. In Silicon Valley, you need to have failed to have actually qualified. You need a failure CV, so to speak. Any other thoughts, any comments, please, Sam?
So, first of all, thanks for mentioning Purdue, my alma mater. So, very happy to hear that. But, you know, for both questions, I would say, you know, if we take a top-down approach, instead of saying, here's a tool that could help the industry, if we take the other approach, you know, going back to Professor Rose's point, you know, trillions of dollars are being spent in this industry. If you first quantify the value that your tool or service can create for this industry, and then, you know, take a step down and say, you know, here are the business models you need, and here are the capabilities that I provide, I enable, then you would have more success in attracting talent as well.
It's Argadar from Pronova. We work actually in the domain of drilling data analytics and applying AI long time ago. But always the big challenge for us is the data quality. Now we are speaking about digitalization and the next phase. What about the data quality we already have? We already collected.
It's absolutely correct. We have actually used machine learning to clean up, for example, databases, 10-year-old databases. And we used AI and machine learning to actually clean it up, so we have a clean data set. And we actually are very much aware of that. And there are special initiatives being launched which look into quality data management. What do we need to do to bring our databases up to scratch so we can actually make use of these new technologies, and that's a prerequisite for actually applying some of these new technologies.
Intelligence is very simple. If you have poor data, you will get poor results. It's very important to improve the quality of the data that you are collecting in order to get outstanding value out of your data. You know, it's garbage in, garbage out. If your data is poor, you'll get poor result from AI. We got fantastic technology to clean up the data, to try to recalibrate it, to try to make it usable. But you know, it's much easier to solve the problem at the root and make sure that the data you acquire is of top quality.
So just a quick question. How applicable is the blockchain in the oil and gas industry? It is currently dominating all other industries. And especially for Oystein, I've come across IBM Hyperledger from the different versions of it. So how can we implement this within ADNOC itself, oil and gas industry?
Brilliant question. Oystein, quick comment on that?
There are different aspects to consider when you go into some of these countries due to legislation and data privacy. So I can only talk for myself. We are working on a private solution where you can actually deploy this and kind of instantiate solutions in your own, inside your own enterprise. The first question about you know, use cases. We have roughly cuffed up like 30 plus use cases that are spanning, I would say, production and operational issues. For instance, being able to, from a central position, work with the laboratory systems out in the field and cross the IT-OT boundary and do that in a high integrity level. So not distorting, deteriorating the safety integrity levels, and also kind of prove that you have a track record, you have an audit trail.
Hi, I'm Amin Arya from University of Maryland, USA. Today I heard a lot of good words about big data and data analytics and machine learning, but the question here is why, for example, our team, which is working on corrosion and pipelines, why we cannot get access to any type of data, especially big data?
For the purposes of research, you know, creating good public data sets is absolutely key. You see some of that. I mean, certainly in the US data, you see that from Norway as well. But I think there's tremendous benefit to be gained by everyone by making certain types of data public and available for analysis.
Wonderful analogies. Big hand to the whole team.